goodwill, and better friendships.
Will it be beneficial
to all
all
concerned? Thank you, Amanda.
Welcome.
Okay, do we have any guests with us today? I know Dorsey's in the presence of people, as Lori is, but are they involved?
My husband is actually a guest with us today, Jimmy Waldron.
Jimmy Waldron. Okay, glad to have Jimmy. Any other guests? How about visiting Rotarians? I'm not sure I saw any sign on. We've had one or two that have come every week, but they must be traveling. Okay. Happy Dollars?
I have a happy dollar, Carol. It's Amanda.
Okay.
Okay, some of you might have seen it on my social media feed yesterday, but if you didn't, I'm very happy because each year Lakeland Christian School gives out a Christian Character Award in honor of a late PE coach that was beloved at the school. Her name was Vicki Dawson. And they gave it to one boy and one girl in the 2nd grade and one boy and one girl in the 5th grade. And my son received the 2nd grade award this year.
Oh, that's
His coach just
awesome.
came yesterday
Cool.
Great.
and gave him the award.
Oh, that's great.
So
That's
we're
a
real
great
proud of
honor
it.
at Lakeland Christian. A very
Yes.
great honor.
Congratulations. Other happy dollars?
I have one. I'm very happy because Leadership Lakeland 37 has decided to participate and each donate $100 for the $1 Million Meals Challenge for Feeding Tampa Bay. And we would also like to challenge other Leadership Lakeland classes to do the same.
That is great news. Thank you so much. Marge, will they be donating just on the Rotary website? Do you know how they're going to do that?
Sarah sent out the link.
Okay, great. Wonderful. That's great news.
President Carroll, this is Larry. Happy dollar for the article that Gary White published in the Ledger Sunday. Providing food for people, our farm workers who are in food insecurity and other issues like work. Those beautiful projects he described. I say beautiful because I'm one of the volunteers there in food distribution, and they are recipients of Feeding Tampa Bay and other resources.
Wonderful.
So we're proud of their work, especially the students who are farm worker family members. Some of them from home from college are helping with the distribution.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Happy dollars.
Yes, I have one. My sister-in-law and her fiance have decided to get married this Saturday. He goes to West Point, supposed to graduate here in a few weeks, and that date's been moving around a lot. So about 5 or 6 days ago, they decided, let's just go ahead and get married this weekend. So it's been a little bit chaotic with the family trying to coordinate everything, but something that's really going to be a lot of fun and bright amidst everything going on. So we're
wonderful. Something to celebrate. What kind of group are they going to be able to have together?
Basically just immediate family and a couple close friends. Everything's going to be outside and kind of socially distanced and things like that. But, it'll be
Happy
great.
occasion. That'll be great. Other happy dollars? Okay, I'm going to give a shout out, and I don't know if Jennifer Swinson is on the call today, but I wanted to give a congratulations to her. Jennifer was appointed by Governor DeSantis to the Polk County Court. She fills the seat that's created by the retirement of Judge Kirkland. So congratulations, we have another judge among us. So this is getting to be a regular affair in the Lakeland Rotary Club. Congratulations, Jennifer. Other happy dollars? Okay. All right, a couple of announcements. It sounds like we are making lots of inroads with the Million Meal Challenge. And I want to thank our matching donors for stepping up. Y'all came through big time. Arletta sent me an email last Thursday, said that to get the club going, that she was going to give a matching donation of for the next $500 that was given. I sent that email out to y'all on Thursday at 6:30. And then within 30 minutes, Dean Hart emailed me, and he was not to be outdone. He said, okay, I'm in for the next 500. And by midnight that night, both their matching donations had been matched. We had received about $1,100 by midnight. So Steve Moore issued the next challenge. I sent that email out for a $1,000 match. Went out early Friday morning, and by, I'm going to say, midday the next day, that $1,000 was matched. So y'all are awesome. Thank you so much. As of about an hour before our meeting today, our club has contributed so far $4,225 in May. So that's just in 2 weeks' time. And that's before the donations of these 3 matching donors. So thank you. And the word is obviously spreading with Leadership Lakeland and some other groups. So thank you for your generosity. The email I got last night from District Governor Kip, they have collected, I believe, $73,000 as of yesterday across the district. I don't have the breakdown of all of the clubs, but ours is, I believe, leading. Not all of the clubs are even participating. So this club is so generous. Thank y'all so very much. And now President-elect Joel has an announcement.
Thank you, President Carroll. As you all know from the year that we had under Jack Lohman, that we're all trying to forget, probably. Just kidding, Jack. We raised a tremendous amount of money through Rotary International, who in turn will send that money back to the district in order to be used for district grant funding. Our district stands alone, not alone, but unique almost, in the sense that they will give our club 50% of the proceeds of what we raised. That works out to be $17,662. Normally, I would put in an application for a project to be done sometime next year, but under the circumstances, we worked with the board. Your board approved that we would front the $17,662 from our own reserves and use that for the Million Meal Challenge to also augment getting people fed and getting food out to the people who need it the most. I would think that I would hope we're in an extremely abnormal situation right now. And it stands to reason that we would try to spend that money now than sit on it and do something else with it a year from now. So thank you to the board for your support on that. I'm reaching out to the district to try to get Feeding Tampa Bay to work with us to get a feeding event pieced together. I don't know if it's going to be able to happen in May or not, but we will be looking for volunteers to try to help put meal kits together and do the handouts and whatnot. So stay tuned. But that's good news that we can really give that much money, and that will definitely make this club a leader amongst all the other clubs. So
yes,
that's my message. Thank you, President Carroll.
Thank you, President Joel. And to add to that, the awesomeness of this club, the DDF funds that are coming for my year, they have been received at the district level, so they should be in our bank account within a week. And $2,500 of that, our board had already committed several months ago to use that for a feeding project for Feeding Tampa Bay. So we're going to make that part of the Million Meal Challenge. So there's another $2,500 for the pot. And as I am reading our chat from Anna Gillespie, we have more good news. Her message is, I am happy to donate $500 to the Million Meals from Leadership Lakeland Class 36. Greatest class ever. Come on, 36, bring it on. So wonderful. Just any amount. I don't want anybody to feel like you can't be a part of it because you can't give $1,000 or $500. Anything you can give, $10, $25. There is no gift that's too small. As President-elect Joel said, in one way, it's hard to think about giving our dollars that we have given so long ago that we could use for a sustainable project. And it's sad that we can't do that right now. But when we think about our neighbors who really are hungry, I feel grateful that we have this money to provide help for them. So let's keep the giving going. Thank you. Okay, and along those lines, lunch money. I'm not going to change where I'm asking you to give your lunch money. Just save your lunch money and send it either in a lump sum or weekly or whatever period you want to do. And we're asking that those go to Rotary Foundation. Those will be used for projects all over the world. But as President-elect Joel can attest, Rotary International has sent out emails to all of the clubs saying that all efforts for fundraising right now are going to be targeted toward COVID relief, whether it's local or international. So we can have an effect in both ways. All right, any more announcements? Okay, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lori to introduce our program today.
All right, thank you. So we have new member profiles. Of course, this is the first time that we've had virtually new member profiles, and so I really appreciate the three that decided to say yes to do this, because this is way different than looking at the smiling faces out looking at you while they're eating their lunch. So this is a little different, but I really do appreciate them. A little bit about the STARS class that we had, that the three of them that you're going to hear from today, that was in, they did their project at Habitat for Humanity. This was some of them here, that they did some painting and things like that, and it was a great project. This was a really great class. They bonded immediately within the first 10 minutes. It was really awesome. They really bonded and really started connecting with each other, and we could really see these were going to be some really great new members in Rotary. Marge and I were very, very, very thrilled with this class because they were very eager, very wanting to get to know each other and get to know about our club, and they really already have gotten so involved in our club. So that's a very exciting thing. And we are going to be starting another STARS class. We have been back and forth with President Carroll. We're waiting on, I think we're about done with everybody going through Rotary information. So in a couple of weeks, we'll be starting that. So we'll be having another STARS class, but it will be virtual, and hopefully we can end up in person. Hopefully we can end up in person, and then we can do a project in person, because I started thinking, how in the world are we going to do a project virtually? So we're just, hoping and praying that happens. So we'll be bringing another STARS class in front of you guys soon, hopefully in person. So our first new member profile is going to be Christy McCrary, and her sponsor is Jack Lohman. And then the second one is going to be Heidi Waldron, and she is sponsored by Kim Brunson. And then last but not least, Tyler Davis. His sponsor is Will Harrell. So I'm just going to turn it over to Christy. She's going to try to share her screen. She's going to try to do a PowerPoint, and if it doesn't work, then she'll just, try to just share without the PowerPoint. So, Christy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be the first ever Zoom new member. Yeah. I'm excited this is different than what I expected it to be when I first signed up, but here we go. So this was me when I was first born. I was born to Chuck and Kay Hoberg, and I was a surprise. I had an 18-year-old and 14-year-old brother at the time, and my parents were 37 and 39 and thought they were done, and I guess I decided to grace them with my presence. Mm-hmm. I was born in Fort Collins, Colorado. And I don't know if anybody's been there, but a small little tidbit about Fort Collins is Main Street of Disney was actually designed around our downtown. So it's a cute city. There's about 120,000 people there. It's a college town, really great place to grow up. And I lived there for most of my life. Growing up, I tried athletics. I wasn't the best. I did softball and volleyball and basketball. But my parents were always scared that I was going to be sort of awkward because my dad was really tall. He was 6'5". And so they thought I was going to be really tall and uncoordinated, and they put me in dance. And dance was something I actually was pretty decent at. And I did that my entire childhood, and even got into competitions and things like that too. So that's definitely a big part of who I am. And something I wish my daughter would have gotten into, but unfortunately you can't force your kids to share your interests. I went to Fort Collins High School, home of the Lampkins, which is a very, very tough mascot. In fact, it was on Jay Leno's top 10 worst mascots ever. So that's kind of our claim to fame there. But it was really special to me to be able to go to that high school. Both my parents graduated from that high school, a different building, but I had a lot of pride. My brothers went there and played high school sports, and I was very grateful to be able to share that with them as well. So in 1999, I was in the hallways of Fort Collins High School, and I heard an announcement about being a Rotary exchange student. And I didn't know what that meant exactly. I was 15. I hadn't even met an exchange student before, but I decided I was going to do that. So I went and picked up the application. I filled out all the paperwork. I got my letters of recommendation. Shocked my parents to death. They never thought I was going to say I'm going to go live abroad for a year. I put down my top 3 countries of where I wanted to live as Australia, because I thought the accents were cool, and Germany because I was taking German in school. And then my third choice was Sweden, because that's what my heritage is. And Rotary chose Sweden for me. They had a student from the town I lived in who wanted to come to the U.S., and so we did a swap. So my junior year of high school was spent in Norrköping, Sweden, and the top right picture is the high school I went to when I was there. And I mean, it looks like a museum on the outside, and it looked like a museum on the inside. We had $1 million painting by a famous Swedish artist in the main area of the high school, and it was protected by like glass, and even a little tiny piece of paper flicked on it would make an alarm go off. And It was very, very different. Definitely culture shock for me when I first got there. But something that was really cool was when I was in high school there, I was able to pick a customized subject that I was interested in. So I chose dance. DR is a school that specializes in the arts. So I had dance 5 days a week at 7 a.m. And all of my classes were kind of based around, I guess, the artist culture, you could say. So I had theater and art class and things like that. The middle picture is a snapshot of the main street of the town I lived in. That's a little tram we would take to the little shopping areas and restaurants and things like that. And the bottom picture is a picture of the building that my Rotary meetings were in. So every Friday morning at 7:15, I had the breakfast Rotary Club. And at 16 years old, that's very, very early to be bright and cheery and going to Rotary. But my host mother was a Rotarian. She's a Paul Harris Fellow. So I didn't really have a choice. And then the large picture is a picture of my first host family I had when I lived in Sweden. And I went back last summer. That's my daughter next to me, and she was able to meet my host family. She got to see my high school and ride that tram up and down the main street. So that was very cool, very special. She is now completely obsessed with Sweden and wants to go and spend her next summer there. So we'll see about that. I went to Johnson & Wales University, which is a private university. I went to the Denver campus. There's 5 locations. I still had a little bit of the international kick in me, and they have a Swedish campus. So I think that's probably why I chose that school. But I loved it, small class sizes, and I was able to specialize in marketing. In 2005, my daughter Taya was born. And this is, on the far right is her little baby picture for her first birthday. And the middle picture is her at homecoming. And the left picture is her first day of high school. So she's definitely a huge part of my life. Some of you have met her. She came with me to our project that we did for our STARS class and helped paint. So So I always try to help her to understand the importance of volunteering. She does stuff for a local food bank here called Seeds of Hope. I'll get to that next. These are my siblings. As I mentioned, I have 2 older brothers, and it turns out I wasn't the last surprise. So 6 years later, my little brother Ethan was born, and he's on the far left. We have 25 years between us, and but we're all really close. We're all very different, and I love our friendship, and they're very, very special to me. But I wanted to talk about Ethan in particular because he is a huge inspiration to me, and his life had a big change in 2013. We found out he was diagnosed with soft tissue sarcoma in his leg, and so when you're 21 and find out you have cancer, it's a huge life-altering event for him, of course, but also for us as his family to be a support system. And he was just a complete warrior throughout his treatment, his radiation and chemo. He would finish his chemo treatments and go hiking or rock climbing, just a crazy kid. And about a year after his treatment was completed, he found out he had an infection from a knee replacement he had during the cancer surgery. And he called me and said he had a tough decision to make. And he said, I either need to have a piece of muscle removed from my back and put in my knee and take antibiotics for the rest of my life, or I need to have my leg amputated 3 inches above the knee. And as the big sister, my heart stopped. I wanted to do anything I could to help him not have to go through that, but that was the reality we were facing. For me, that would have been a very tough decision. For him, it wasn't. He said, so I've decided I'm going to do it. And 2 days later, he had his leg amputated 3 inches above the knee. So this is him today, and he is such an inspiration to me. He's still rock climbing. You can see he has his prosthetic. He's still hiking. He does jujitsu, where he fights against 2-legged people, is what he calls them. So he's just an incredible human and someone that I look up to every single day. So I wanted to share his story. In 2016, we moved from Colorado to Florida. We live in Fishhawk, which is, it's a little bit east of Riverview, if you know where that is. It's about an hour from Lakeland. I got a job at Colorado Box Beef, and believe it or not, I am the only thing Colorado about Colorado Box Beef. It's never been in Colorado, and the name comes from people associating Colorado with high quality beef. So that's what the founder decided in 1975, and I guess that's what we're still going with. So anyway, moving here, my daughter got involved in the competitive soccer team. She was an FFA. And I can't see what my other picture is, but anyway. And this is my dog, Dexter. He's also a huge part of my life. He's a golden doodle. I talk about him a lot, and I'm slightly obsessed with him, but he brings a lot of happiness to our family. And we got him in 2018. And then in my free time, what I like to do is travel. So like I mentioned, last summer, I took my daughter to Sweden so she could understand that huge part of my life that Rotary brought to me when I was 16 years old, and meet my friends and my host families, and really experience the culture like I was able to. But we also went to London, which was great. She had so much fun there. Germany was a fun place I've been. And I put this middle picture on there. It's of my mom and dad and older brother, Andrew. This was in August of 2018. We went to Napa, which was on my bucket list. And this was actually the last trip I took with my dad before he passed away. And he passed away 6 weeks after this picture. So that trip was really, really special to me. and something, a trip that I will never forget. So it's my goal to continue to instill that love and passion of travel with my daughter, like my dad did for me at a young age. And, I hope that she's able to experience different cultures because I think it's so important. So that is, I think, my last slide. You should have the screen back now. Do you have it?
Awesome. Thank you, Christy. That was awesome. And the PowerPoint, it worked. That's awesome.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, so next we have Heidi Waldron.
There you are. Okay.
I got it.
All right.
Yay for being married to a techie husband.
Wonderful.
Okay, so this photo is the epitome of the 80s. This is my mom and dad, and my dad is not a huge picture taker, so you will probably, this is one of 2 photos you will see of him in this slideshow presentation. And so this is me. I think I was about 5 here, and actually probably younger than that, and that's my mom. Don't worry, she gave me permission to share this photo. So I'm an only child. I don't have any other siblings. I was actually a miracle child, as my mom liked to call me. So I was a surprise, but a welcome surprise. I ended up traveling, going to concerts, pretty much doing every single thing that my parents did. In the 80s, I was their tag-along. So I've been exposed to a lot of live shows. My parents were both really avid music fans. So I think I've seen acts like George Strait probably 6 times. Alan Jackson, Garth Brooks at the peak of their career. So they were avid country music fans, and that instilled a love for me in country music at a very early age. And I, weirdly enough, can memorize all of the lyrics to a song only once that I've heard it.
Wow.
So I can recite words to country music songs. And just fun facts about me on the screen. I love the Florida Keys. So that is my favorite place. And if you invite me to go to the Florida Keys, I will say yes. So unless you're serious. And then, of course, I love arts and culture, yoga, interior design. I love collecting vintage books. I rode horses from a very early age, and I was lucky enough to have my own horse. Her name was Sassy. And I absolutely love fishing. I grew up freshwater fishing with my dad and my grandfather. Again, only child, first grandchild. I was able to go everywhere with them. I learned how to dock and undock a boat probably at the age of 10. And I was an avid boater. And so when you're an only child and your dad has a fisher girl to go with, you figure out very early on you're the only one that can manage the boat off the boat dock. So that's a fun fact. So let's see. My next slide is, I was born and raised in Lakeland, Florida. Here I am, have come back again. I was lucky enough to be very involved in FFA at a young age. In terms of leadership, FFA really set the stage for my leadership knowledge and set the course for me to really invest my time in agriculture and, learn how to judge a piece of meat. I showed steers growing up at the Bartow Youth Fair and pigs. And that, again, putting you in charge at a very young age of a show steer is quite a responsibility if any of you have done it. So that was a really great opportunity for me, as well as all the leadership opportunities. This photo in particular was taken in DC, where it's really the first time I traveled to a big place in DC and stayed for 2 weeks and was immersed in leadership and FFA. So I actually went all the way through high school, and I have my state degree in FFA as well. That's a fun fact. In high school, I attended George Jenkins High School. I was very active in the arts and culture. I played the viola for 6 years, which will kind of recirculate later on in my presentation. You'll see how my arts and culture background kind of came up in my professional career. And for college, I did my master's program at Rollins College in Winter Park. I am married to a husband, a wonderful husband. We got married in the Florida Keys, of course. We got engaged. The photo of me reenacting my surprise. That's not the real proposal, but it is shortly about 5 minutes after it happened. That's in front of the Bellagio in Las Vegas. I love to travel, and I was on a girls' trip, and I was with my girlfriends, had no intention of seeing my husband for a week. And he flew, and he had a really fun trip. There was 6 airplanes involved to get him from Orlando to Las Vegas in order for him to propose. Poor guy. He definitely went through the ringer that day. And so as an only child, I don't have any siblings. I'm lucky enough that Jim has 2 other siblings, and he comes from a very large family that's based out of Long Island. So all of New Yorkers, big personality. And here I am, little old Heidi from Polk County as an only child. So that was very exciting. I insisted on a very glam look, but at the beach. So as you can tell, I'm wearing high heels in sand, taking photos, and I was just going to make it happen. Again, there's probably the second photo that my dad was happy to take a photo, and of course my mom sharing that memory. It was a beautiful time, and so we've been together, my husband and I, for a little over a decade. Again, going back to family, we don't actually have any children as of yet, but we are doggy parents, so that's a real commitment. In our t-shirts that we got for Christmas one year, in the upper right-hand corner, those are our dogs printed on our t-shirts. In the bottom left-hand corner, those are a photo of my bridesmaids and my mother-in-law and my mother. And that's actually at the Terrace Hotel. Although I was living in Orlando, Florida, my dream was to have a reception at the Terrace Hotel when I was little for my bridal shower. So my mother-in-law and my mother really made magic happen. And there's pictures of my father-in-law in the right-hand corner. Unfortunately, we lost him about a year ago. He was a man that I really looked up to. He was an attorney, and he was very much a New Yorker. Always came to dinner in his own household in a 3-piece suit, and always looked dapper.
Wow.
And he was polar opposite of my father, who is a hunter and fisherman and avid outdoorsman. So it was really nice to have that mixture of the 2 of them. And so those are fond memories of family time that I really look forward to. And the next slide is, I love travel. We love travel. We travel all the time, as much as we can possibly allow. I also have a love for cars, fast cars. I had a bit of a very early midlife crisis, and I came home one day with a Roush Mustang, as you can see in the left-hand corner of the presentation. I drove it for a couple of years. I had a really great time driving it. I loved that car. I just didn't really have a place to keep it. I feel like it's a weekender car. And I was obsessed with keeping it clean. So I gave it up and got an SUV, but I will be honest, I regret that decision. The middle photo is my husband and I. We love live music, arts and culture. So this is at a Dave Matthews show. We love Dave Matthews, and pretty much every band that we could possibly see live, we do. Even though I went to Rollins, we did not have a football team, but I am a tried and true Gator fan, probably since I was born. I didn't really have a choice in the matter. And the right-hand corner is myself at the Great Wall. So one of the things, and you'll see in the next slide, in my previous career, I was very much involved in arts and culture, and I ran a youth arts organization called Florida Symphony Youth Orchestras for 8 years. And one of the major things that we did was take 80 to 90 teenagers around the world and had them, gave them the opportunity to play in world-renowned theaters such as Carnegie Hall and theaters in Austria and Germany, Munich, Prague, and of course China. So we also had the opportunity that while we were playing concerts on the off time, we would have cultural experiences, which I never thought I would be able to see the Great Wall of China, but I was able to not only see it, but climb it. So that was an accomplishment for me. This slide shows a little bit more about the orchestra. I was with them for 8 years, so I have really fond memories. The right-hand corner where it looks like teenagers are throwing very expensive instruments around is just my actual last photo with the orchestra before I left. So I left, we came back from tour in July of last year in 2019, and that was my actual last photo with the orchestra. They didn't know it at the time, but I knew it, and so it was kind of a cheerful way of celebrating the end of the tour. And for me, it was really bittersweet. There were too many students to really picture, but one of the French horn players that actually just graduated, he's very established and he's graduating this year. Very proud of him. And then there's a photo from one of the great halls in China that we played. And my husband and I at a ball, very fancy dress, in which I would have to do a quick change and actually put on normal clothes and load a truck. If you know anything about nonprofit work, you can look glamorous for 5.2 seconds, but the behind the scenes is what really matters. And then I came to Bonnet Springs Park in mid-July of last year, so I'm coming up on my 1 year. So very excited to be back home in Lakeland, Florida. It's kind of been full circle for me. And right before I accepted the job to Bonnet Springs, I also accepted to be admitted in a class for yoga teachers. So as soon as I started my new job at Bonnet Springs Park, I also started to embark on my journey to become a yoga teacher. So I am excited because I graduated in December 2019, and I'm not a full-time yoga teacher, obviously, but I do enjoy it very much so, and I hope to continue that for the rest of my life. And that's the end.
Awesome. Thank you, Heidi, for sharing with us. Thank you for everything you're doing at Bonnet Park. That's going to be awesome. All right, last but not least, Tyler, it's 12:50, so we have less than 10 minutes.
I'll keep it quick.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, it's working.
Okay.
Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, thanks. My name's Tyler Davis. Thanks for letting me share today. I'm a little bit new to Lakeland and also obviously new to the club, but I was born in Houston, Texas. This is my mom and my dad. My mom grew up in Houston. My dad grew up in Dothan, Alabama, and has a lot of Alabama roots. But he had just finished up his PhD at New Orleans Baptist Seminary and was the campus minister at Houston Baptist University at the time, which is where my mom had just graduated from, and so they met there in Houston. So I was born in Houston, lived there for a couple of years, and my dad decided he wanted to leave campus ministry and get more into pastoral care. And so we wound up in Carrollton, Georgia, moved there in 1995, and my dad is still the pastor at First Baptist Church Carrollton, almost, 25 years later. And so it's been a blessing to our family and a blessing for me, even as a preacher's kid, to be able to grow up in one church. It's a traditional worship church downtown in Carrollton, and really kind of grew up in the church. So many people there have had a major impact on my life and have continued to bless my family, who, still loves Carrollton and that sort of thing. So I grew up, normal childhood, played a ton of sports growing up. Baseball, basketball, golf, loved everything about sports as a kid. Picture of my dad and I at the 96 World Series in Atlanta. Just growing up, loved sports, and played baseball and basketball in high school. We were pretty good teams, never won a state championship or anything, but we were always really good and had a lot of great teammates. And kind of decided to give playing sports in college a shot. So I went to Carson Newman, which is outside Knoxville, a Baptist university there, and played baseball my freshman year. Liked it, played a decent amount, but just kind of got burned out and realized that wasn't as much fun when most of your friends are in Athens or Auburn or Tuscaloosa having a good time in college, and you're grinding it out playing D2 college baseball. It's not quite as much fun as other people are having. So I decided to transfer and move a little bit closer to home. And so I transferred to Samford University after my freshman year. I majored in accounting there, joined a fraternity, kind of had a really great college experience. And then to cap off what I'll call the reverse President Carol Wallace colleges, I went to the University of Alabama for my master's degree. So I did my master's in tax at Alabama. So really spent, kind of 4 or 5 years in the Birmingham, Tuscaloosa area for college. Here's some pictures from those years. Grew up a huge Alabama football fan. My dad and all his brothers, he has 3 brothers, are also all huge, grew up with season tickets. And so Alabama football is a huge part of kind of my childhood and my life, as is kind of a lot of my friends from home are big Atlanta fans. So we always get together once a year and go to a game and things like that. So really have had a lot of lifelong friends from childhood, but also from college. And then after Alabama, decided to stay in Birmingham and went to work at PricewaterhouseCoopers in tax. And great experience. Was there for about 6 years and really loved it. And I'm glad as you'll see, that I decided to stay in Birmingham after graduating from Alabama. Kind of right after I started my career, my mom, who you'll see in these pictures, got sick with colon cancer. And so generally colon cancer is not as serious as some other forms, but hers was caught late and it spread kind of throughout her body over the course of 3 or 4 years. And she passed away in 2016 on Halloween. And so obviously that's tough, for me at my age. Also, I have a little sister who's 11 years younger than me. And so, that's tough for her to lose her mom, tough for me to lose her mom, and tough for my dad as the head of a church to lose his wife at a church where he'd been there for so long. But it's really been neat, like I was mentioning in the first slide about, the church where my dad's a pastor, kind of seeing the church worship or comfort him and minister to him through that, and kind of through this whole process has been really, really powerful. And my mom was a school teacher and really made a huge impact on a ton of people and a ton of kids, and left a legacy for sure that, is impactful to me today. And, so that was really tough and still is. But kind of right before my mom passed away, a few months before that, actually, I met my now wife, Caroline, and she grew up here in Lakeland, but went to Samford, and we didn't know each other at all in college. We pinpointed it back to where we were both, at the same fraternity function or two, but just didn't know each other at all, and met through some mutual friends in Birmingham after she had graduated. So we got engaged at First Baptist, where I grew up, in the sanctuary there, and then got married about 7 months later in Birmingham. And so these are some pictures from our engagement pictures and wedding in Birmingham. And Birmingham was great to us. We loved it. I spent about a decade there and have so many great friends that are still there and family that's still there. And so it'll always hold a special place in both of our hearts. But kind of through that process, after getting married, continuing to work in public accounting, I just got burned out. I was tired of working so much and deadlines, and just was ready for a change. And so started talking to Caroline a lot, my father-in-law a lot, Dean Saunders, who some of y'all probably know, and decided to move down here. I knew Caroline wanted to be closer to her family. And like I said, I was ready for kind of a career change. And so decided to kind of start my career in real estate. So I work at Saunders, Ralston, Dantzler here in Lakeland, do a little bit of everything there, some internal accounting work, some brokerage, some trying to do more development, like I said, a little bit of everything, which is a great kind of learning process for me. So one thing that my wife and I love to do is we do love to travel, kind of echoing on what everybody else has said today. And we were supposed to go on a big trip this summer that we've had to kind of postpone temporarily here, but we went to Canada shortly after we got married. We've gone to New Orleans, and we've done a couple group trips. We have a few close couple friends that live in Dallas, and so we've gone out to visit them a few times, and have gone on a number of trips with them over the last few years. And so that's them in the right hand part of the screen. That's my dad and my sister, Caroline, and myself at Christmas this past year. We travel up to Carrollton a good bit to still see them, because my sister is a senior in high school this fall, and my dad's probably going to retire in the next year or so. So still make it up, that way a good bit. Kind of building on the travel theme, one thing that we love to do is go to college football games. My wife is a diehard Florida fan. In some ways, she's more of a diehard Florida fan than I am Alabama fan, which says a lot. And so we love to go to different games almost every Saturday. It feels like in the fall we're going to Gainesville or Tuscaloosa, or going to watch one of our teams on the road. And we're both good sports about it. When Florida's playing, I won't wear a Florida polo per se, but I'll wear the colors, kind of cheer for Florida. Happy wife is a happy life, like they say. And same thing for Alabama games. Caroline will root for Alabama. So that's one thing that we love to do together is travel and travel to go watch our teams play. One thing, probably my biggest hobby is golf. I love playing golf. My dad played golf in college at Samford, and so kind of grew up playing. I didn't play competitively growing up, but I've always played my entire life and have now gotten really big into it. And so I've been fortunate to go on some really fun trips. And now living in Florida, being able to play year round is great. And so that's a little bit about me. Love living here in Lakeland. I feel very welcomed by everybody in Lakeland, but also at the Rotary Club here. And Rotary is something that I'm very excited to get more involved in. My dad was in it in Carrollton. My grandfather was in it as well. And so I've been able to see firsthand kind of the impact that it makes on people and the ability to give back. So thanks for letting me share today. I hope you learned a little bit about me.
Thank you. Okay, let's see if I can get my screen back. Okay, thank you all. Can we unmute and give them all a round of applause? Yay! That was awesome. You all did a great job, and you'll go down in history as our first Zoom new member profiles. Thank you for your courage. Yay. It was really great. Great. Thank you. All right. Next week, we will have Christina Kreiser Jackson from the United Way of Central Florida is going to talk about the COVID relief. They have gotten some federal funding to provide relief to local businesses and those in need. So please come back for her presentation next week. I think our sole guest, who was Jimmy Waldron today. Jimmy, I hope you'll come back and visit another time. I know you had a special motive today, but we're welcome you anytime. Our weekly quote, I think it's very apropos today. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead. And we are adjourned, and I will see you all next week. Bye.
Thanks, Carol.
Bye. Bye.